What are you doing in my swamp?
Hello everybody, this is Ogreboy, and I'm going to be doing something new on my channel. At the end of each month, I'm planning on doing my ranking of all the movies I watched for the first time for each month, and so this month I've actually watched 28 movies that are first time watches for me. So I'm going to go ahead and rank all 28 of them. I'm going to try to keep my thoughts and stuff on them brief and everything. Some of them I've already reviewed, so if you want to see my full thoughts, you can watch the reviews. Some of them, like I said, I'm just gonna try to keep this video as short as I can, because I know 28 movies is a lot to go through. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Number 28 is The Big Trip. This is an animated movie that I watched here a couple weeks ago. It stars Pauly Shore and Drake Bell, and it's one of those direct-to-video animated movies that you would probably only hear about at the Redbox and stuff. I actually checked it out at the library. And this was a movie that I was really interested in seeing, but because of it being from the producers of Madagascar and stuff, but this movie was just pretty much a big rip-off of Ice Age and other movies that are way better than it. The animation is fine in here, but it just didn't have a very good story. There's a lot of stupid subplots in this movie, like that don't go anywhere. Like there's this subplot where the rabbit and the bear are both having the same dream and stuff, and for some reason the bear is the rabbit's dad in the dream. It's really stupid. It makes no sense at all, and it doesn't go anywhere in the story. It just, and the voice acting in here was all really horrible and everything. It's just a really terrible movie. So The Big Trip is number 28, and number 27 is Triple X State of the Union. I was a big fan of the first Triple X as a kid. I rewatched that one a few months ago, and I don't know why I was a huge fan of it back then. It really has not aged well, and isn't one that I really like a whole lot anymore. But back then I was like a huge fan of Vin Diesel when he was first starting to get really big. He had done this, The Fast and the Furious, and there were a few other movies that he did back then, like Riddick movies and stuff like that, that I really liked him quite a bit. And when I found out he wasn't coming back for this one, I just didn't even bother watching it when it first came out. I finally watched it for the first time, and it's really horrible. The CGI is bad, the cast is really wasted in here. It just could have been a much better movie than it was and everything. So Triple X State of the Union is number 27, and number 26 is Come to Daddy. This was one that I didn't know anything about going in. I had just seen the case, and the case made it look like it was like a horror movie, and it does have a little bit of horror elements in it, but I found the movie to be really boring. It's really well made, like the directing and cinematography and score and stuff are all really good, and Elijah Wood gives a pretty good performance in here. It's just the movie itself, it was over long. Now, I don't even think it was that long of a movie. I think it was under 2 hours, but it felt like it was a lot longer than it was. And it just could have been so much better. Like I said, it's a really well-made movie. It's just a really boring one, and that's why it's so low on here. So, Come to Daddy is number 26, and number 25 is Gretel and Hansel. This is another one like Come to Daddy that is really well made, like the directing, and it has like really stunning cinematography, great practical effects and makeup effects and stuff. But this movie just was so disappointing. I didn't really have high expectations anyway. I had only heard a few people talk about this movie and say that it was really good, but I had gone in there hoping that I would like it a lot more than I did, because I do like the Gretel and Hansel story, and I've always kind of wanted to see a darker, more horror-centric version of it, and it does have some really good moments in here. Like the opening is really good. It's just the rest of the movie just was not really great. The acting was fine and everything, but the story just was not very well written, and it just was really boring. So Gretel and Hansel is number 25, and number 24 is Fantasy Island. This is another one. As you can tell, I was trying to play catch up this month to some of the 2020 movies that I missed last year, and Fantasy Island was, I don't think it was quite as bad as most people said it was. It was pretty bad, but I don't think it was absolutely horrible. It was alright enough, and it had me intrigued enough that I would actually kind of wouldn't mind seeing a sequel to it. The cast in here was alright. I like Lucy Hale, and I thought she was fine in here. The only thing I really didn't like about the movie was it had way too many plot twists and turns and stuff, and to me that just kind of ruined the movie for me a little bit. But I do think it is better than a lot of people said it was. I watched the unrated one, so the violence and stuff in this was a lot better, I'm guessing, than the PG-13 version. But yeah, so Fantasy Island is number 24, and number 23 is Forces of Nature. This movie stars Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock, who I both like quite a bit, especially Sandra Bullock. She's one of my favorite actresses, but I like Ben Affleck quite a bit too, and it's taken me a long time to see this movie. I had heard of it, and I've known people that have had it on video and stuff, and I just recently got around to watching it. I actually watched it a few days ago, and I was really disappointed in it. I didn't really know a lot about it anyway, but except I had heard that it was pretty bad, and that like they didn't have any chemistry and stuff, but I didn't expect that I would agree. I thought that I'd probably think it's underrated, but I actually agree with all the stuff that people have said about it. Ben Affleck and Sandra Bullock have no chemistry at all. The story is ridiculously dumb, and it's just really not a very good movie. And the background and stuff, it has this really horrible looking CGI that looks like it was meant to be a music video and stuff, and the way the movie is filmed is like it's a music video. It has all these weird slow motion scenes and these up close CGI shots of raindrops and stuff. It's really dumb. It could have been a lot better movie and everything. So Forces of Nature is 23, and number 22 is 1941. This was the war comedy that Steven Spielberg did at the end of the 70s, and I've actually reviewed this one on my channel, so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it. I'm just going to say that like this one wasn't one of Spielberg's best movies. It's actually one of my least favorite movies of his. I don't think it's like the big horrendous piece of crap that a lot of people do, but it's definitely not a really great movie, and it had, like with Triple X, it just had a wasted cast. Like there were a lot of good talented people in this movie, and they don't really do anything with them, and the movie was really convoluted and overstuffed with so many different subplots and stuff, so it just isn't one of my most favorites. So 1941 is number 22, and number 21 is The Way Back. This is another one that I was really disappointed in. It stars Ben Affleck, and I think he was amazing in this movie. He gave a really great performance and stuff, but the story itself just was okay. I've seen it done in movies better than this one. It was really predictable. You kind of knew how things were going to go and everything, and it was an okay movie. It's another one that I felt was just like really kind of too slow paced, and just wasn't something that I was really interested in. I think Ben Affleck gave a great performance, but I wouldn't even say that it was the performance of his career like a lot of people do and everything. I think that the hype and stuff kind of made me disappointed too, and it took me a long time to be able to even get a hold of it to see it, but I was disappointed with it. So The Way Back is number 21, and number 20 is Da 5 Bloods. This was a movie that Spike Lee did for Netflix. Well, it wasn't originally supposed to go to Netflix, but it ended up going to Netflix because of everything going on. I thought this movie was pretty decent. Pretty much from this one up, I think all of these movies are at least pretty good. Some of them I really like a lot more than others, and some of them on here are going to be actually better than some of the higher ones, like as far as the way they're made and stuff. Just I enjoyed some of the other ones better, but this one was a pretty good movie. It is kind of slow paced as well, because it's like 2.5 hours and everything, so it does have some pacing issues, but it has some great performances in here, and it's really well made movie and everything. So Da 5 Bloods is number 20, and number 19 is Pieces of a Woman. This is another one that had a lot of hype and stuff, and I was kind of disappointed in it. It is a good movie though. Vanessa Kirby was amazing in this movie. I'll be surprised if she doesn't get some kind of Oscar recognition for this movie, or at least some award recognition. Her performance is great in here, and Shia LaBeouf was really good in here too. And it's just, the only reason it's not as high is because this one is not going to be one that I want to rewatch very often because of the subject matter. It's just kind of a depressing movie, and it's a sad movie, so it's not one that I'd find, I think it's going to be as rewatchable, but it is a really well made movie, and it is a good one. So it's number 19, and number 18 is Guy and Madeline on a Park Bench. This one is directed by Damien Chazelle. I watched it on Amazon Prime, and I enjoyed this movie. It was his first movie that he ever made. He made it while he was still in film school and stuff, and you can tell that he wasn't very experienced, but I think he did a great job with this movie. You could tell that he had a lot of passion for it and everything. It was a pretty good movie. It really had a good like old school movie feel to it, if that makes sense. It's not one of Damien Chazelle's best movies. It probably is my least favorite movie out of his that I've seen so far, but it's definitely worth checking out if you're interested to see where he got his start from. So it's number 18, and number 17 is A Rainy Day in New York. This is actually Woody Allen's latest movie, and it stars Timothy Chalamet and Elle Fanning and Selena Gomez. I was actually really looking forward to this movie because I do like Woody Allen quite a bit. I think he's a good director and writer, and I like most of his movies and everything. He has that really weird, distinct style, and I went into this movie hoping to like it a lot more than I did. It was okay. It kind of had some pacing issues, and like the story just wasn't near as good as a lot of his movies. It could have been a lot better, and Timothy Chalamet is a good actor from the few things I've seen him in, but this movie he does this really horrible Woody Allen impersonation throughout the whole movie. It's really kind of cringy, but all in all, I think it's an okay movie. I don't love it, but I don't absolutely hate it either. So it's number 17, and number 16 is Song 1. This is another one that I just watched a few nights ago. It's an Anne Hathaway movie where her brother is in a coma after getting in an accident. She's spending time with this singer that her brother likes, and it's a pretty good movie. It's not a great one, but it was decent enough. It's short. It's only like an hour and 28 minutes or so. So the pacing in this one is pretty good. It's not like a super great movie. It's not one that I'd want to rewatch a whole lot. I mean, I might rewatch it every once in a while, but it was an alright movie and everything. So Song 1 is number 16, and number 15 is Tenet. This movie was not at all bad. I think it was really well made. And Christopher Nolan, of course, is a great director and everything, but there were things about this movie that I didn't like the story just really didn't make any sense. I don't really understand anything that was going on in this movie, to be honest. He's just one of those directors that, like, I love his movies even though a lot of times they don't make sense. Same with Inception. I don't fully understand Inception either, but I love, like, he's really good at, like, doing the sound editing and the sound editing, cinematography, and special effects and stuff. He's a really great director. Now, I enjoyed this movie. I think it was fun, even though I really don't know for sure what was going on in it. And the cast in here was pretty good. John David Washington especially was great, and I think Tenet was a good movie. I don't think it was as good as it was hyped up. Like, everybody was hyping this movie like it was going to be the one to save movie theaters and all that, and I can understand why it didn't. It's not that good of a movie, but it is a good movie. I don't think it's as bad as some people say it is either, but it's decent. So Tenet is number 15, and number 14 is Palm Springs. This one stars Andy Samberg, and it's where he's stuck in a time loop with a girl, and they're trying to figure out how to get out of it. This is actually a pretty funny movie. It's a lot better than I was expecting, and Andy Samberg gives a really great performance in here, and his chemistry with the actress, I cannot remember her name, their chemistry was really great in here, and it's a fun movie. It has some emotional moments and everything, but it's also really funny. It blends the drama and comedy really well, and as far as time loop movies go, this one's a pretty good one. Everything. Palm Springs is number 14, and number 13 is After We Collided. I know Palm Springs and Tenet are both better movies, or better made, better written and stuff, but there's just something about After We Collided and the first movie After that they're fun to watch. They're definitely guilty pleasure movies and everything. That they're not really well made or acted or anything like that, but they're just fun to watch, and they're guilty pleasure movies, and I enjoyed After We Collided enough that I'm interested in seeing what happens in the next movie. But it's definitely not a super great movie, but it's a fun movie and kind of middle of the road for this list for me. I know it's a lot higher than it probably should be, but I can't help but like it for some reason. I don't know what it is about those movies, but maybe it is the chemistry between the two leads is actually pretty good, though, for a movie that's like based on fan fiction and stuff. That they do have a good cast that actually works pretty good together, so maybe that's what it is. But anyway, After We Collided is number 13, and number 12 is Buffaloed. This was another one that I was requested to do for my 250 subscribers giveaway contest, and I really enjoyed this movie. I think it was a lot of fun. Zoe Douche is great in here, and the story is really well written and everything. It's not a super great movie, but it's a fun movie, and it had a lot of funny moments and stuff. The only thing I really didn't like about it was Jai Courtney. I felt like he was miscast, but besides that, I thought it was a pretty fun movie and everything. So Buffaloed is number 12, and number 11 is Unplanned. This is a PureFlix movie about a girl who works at an abortion place, and over the course of the movie she decides that she doesn't want to work there anymore and kind of goes up against the place. It's based on a true story. If you're into PureFlix movies, you might enjoy this one. If not, then I just recommend staying away. I personally enjoyed it, but it's definitely one of those movies that you have to kind of really like these type of movies or not like them and everything, but I personally enjoyed this one. So Unplanned is number 11, and number 10 is Endings Beginnings. This is actually the first movie I watched this year. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. It is kind of a slow burner movie, but it's pretty well done. Shailene Woodley is great in here. She's one of those actresses I've always liked quite a bit. I think she's really good in this movie, and Sebastian Stan is in here too, and he's really good too. I liked him. It's kind of cool seeing him outside of the MCU because I'm used to seeing him as Bucky, but he was good in here too. And she's like in this love triangle with him, and I can't remember the guy's name, the guy that plays Christian Grey from the 50 Shades movies. And I'll say he's pretty horrible in this movie. He's not any better than he is in 50 Shades. I think he's just not a very likable actor. Hopefully one day he'll prove me wrong, but I just didn't like him in this movie either. And it may just be I didn't like the character, but that his performance, from what I remember, just wasn't very great. This movie wasn't like super great, but I enjoyed it and everything. So Endings Beginnings is number 10, and number 9 is The River. This is a movie from the 80s that starred Mel Gibson and Sissy Spacek, and they have a farm and stuff. They're trying to keep their farm and stuff after dealing with floods and stuff like that. And this is a pretty good movie. I think that John Travolta would have been a better pick for the main character than Mel Gibson. Now, I like Mel Gibson quite a bit. He's one of my favorite actors. I just felt like they could have had someone better, and I think John Travolta would have been a better pick. But this is a pretty decent movie. It was one that I had been wanting to see for quite some time, and I finally got around to seeing it. I bought it on eBay a couple weeks ago, and it's a pretty good movie. Not super great, but pretty good. And I will say that even though I think Mel Gibson was miscast, his American accent in this movie was really good. He did do a really good job on that, and you could tell that he was really into the role, but I think that it still could have been better. So The River is number 9, and number 8 is Guest House. This is a comedy movie from last year that starred Pauly Shore, and he hasn't really done a lot of movies in a while. He's one of those that I've always liked him quite a bit. I know a lot of people find him obnoxious and annoying, and I can get that. I get why people think he is, but kind of like with Adam Sandler, he's one that gets hated a lot, but I still like him, although Adam Sandler is a million times better. But I thought this was a really funny movie. It was a lot better than I was expecting it to be and everything. It was pretty raunchy though, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. So Guest House is number 8, and number 7 is Bloodshot. This was a movie that I went in expecting to hate it. I'd heard nothing but bad about it, and Vin Diesel is usually hit or miss with me. I actually haven't tried to keep up with his career in years though. I think before this one, the last movie I saw that wasn't a Fast and Furious movie was, I think, The Pacifier maybe. Because I know there's been at least 1 or 2 Riddick movies since then that I haven't seen, and I know he's done other movies, The Last Witch Hunter, and of course he was in the MCU, so I have seen those movies. But like for Vin Diesel centric movie where he's the main character, I haven't really tried to watch them in a while, and I don't know why. It's not really that I don't like him, because I actually really do like Vin Diesel quite a bit. And this movie felt like a throwback to his early 2000s stuff, and it felt like it was made in the early 2000s. Like, it has some pretty bad CGI that looked like it would have fit in like XXX and stuff like that. But For some reason I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I think it could have been better if it had the R rating, but no, I thought it was a lot better than a lot of people said it was, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the sequels stuff. So Bloodshot is number 7, and number 6 is The Shark is Still Working. This is a documentary about like the legacy and how iconic the movie Jaws has become, and they talk about like the stuff that it talked about the making of the movie, but it also talks about like how the movie changed cinema and how its effect and stuff that it's had on pop culture and everything. And if you're a fan of Jaws, I definitely would recommend it. I watched it on it's on my Jaws Blu-ray, but I think you can actually buy it by itself as well. If you don't have the Jaws Blu-ray, if you can find a copy of this, I definitely recommend it. It is a really interesting documentary and stuff, and if you're into Jaws, it's definitely worth checking out. So The Shark is Still Working is number 6, and number 5 is Vivarium. This is a really weird movie. It's a sci-fi horror movie that is more sci-fi and stuff, and it like has a Twilight Zone feel to it. It doesn't really have any blood or anything, and don't really even have a lot of stuff to make it scary. It just has that uncanny, creepy vibe to it and stuff. Like something isn't right and everything throughout the whole movie, and it keeps you wondering what's going on and everything. It's a really great movie though, and Jesse Eisenberg is really great in here, and Imogen Poots is really good in here too, and it was great getting to see both of them who've both had movies I haven't liked a lot more. Imogen Poots with Black Christmas, them two kind of redeeming themselves and stuff. And I've always thought Jesse Eisenberg was alright as an actor. He's not one of my most favorites, but I thought he was really good in this movie, and this one is really underrated and kind of went under the radar last year. So, but I really enjoyed it quite a bit. So Vivarium is number 5, and number 4 is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. This is a movie based on an August Wilson play, and it stars Viola Davis and the late Chadwick Boseman, and both of them give Oscar-worthy performances in this movie. This is a really, really great movie. It doesn't have like a strong plot, and there's not a whole lot going on in this movie. A lot of it is them sitting in a recording studio and their conversations and stuff, but it's entertaining from beginning to end. I absolutely enjoyed this movie, and it's easily one of my favorite movies of the year. I think I reviewed this one when I watched it too, so if you want to hear my full thoughts, you can watch that. But yeah, so Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is number 4, and number 3 is News of the World. This movie stars Tom Hanks. It's a Western movie that I went to see this one in the theater a couple weeks ago. Paul Greengrass directed it, and I love their work together and with Captain Phillips. So I was really excited for this movie, and plus I've always wanted to see Tom Hanks in a Western because I like the Western genre, and I'm always interested in seeing actors I really like in Westerns for some reason. I guess it's because you don't really expect it a lot of times, but I thought Tom Hanks was amazing in this movie, and it's a really entertaining movie. It is kind of a slow burn, but I was never bored with it, and it was probably the best experience I've had at the movie theater in quite a while. It's really, really good movie, and I definitely would recommend it if you haven't seen it. So News of the World is number 3, and number 2 is Whiplash. This was another one that I was recommended to review, and I had a lot of fun with this movie. I thought it was actually I wouldn't say it was fun. It was an intense experience seeing this movie for the first time, and I had heard a lot about it and everything. I went in expecting to think it was overrated, but man, this movie blew me away. The story was just really well written. The dialogue was great. J.K. Simmons' Oscar-winning performance was amazing. Everything. I know he's played jerks and stuff in movies before, but never like this. Like, he's manipulative and cruel, and he just gives a really cold-hearted performance, and he's perfect in this role. And Miles Teller, who I'm not really a big fan of, I've never really liked him. I don't know what it is about him, I just don't like him. It's not really that he's a bad person or anything, I just don't like his acting. But he was amazing in this movie too, and I honestly don't get why he hasn't got better roles since this movie and stuff. And most of the stuff that I judge him on has been before this movie. I think the one that kind of hurt his career was the Fantastic Four movie, which I thought was just alright. I don't think that one was absolutely horrible, but I'll talk about that another day. But yeah, so Whiplash is number 2, and number 1 is The Sugarland Express. This was Steven Spielberg's second movie that he directed, and I had started reviewing his movies this month, and I really like this movie quite a bit. I think it was really well made. It had a great cast, especially Goldie Hawn. She was amazing in this. Spielberg's directing was great, and it just is a really, really good movie, and easily one of his most underrated movies. I don't know that I'd say it's one of his best, because there's still quite a few that I haven't watched yet, and out of the ones I have seen, I wouldn't say it's one of my very most favorites, but it definitely is a really great one and everything. So I definitely would recommend it if you haven't seen it. And I know most people have, but it is a really good movie. It's not on the same level as some of his other movies, but it's definitely worth checking out. But anyway, that's my ranking for all of the movies I watched for the first time in January 2021. I'll be doing my February ones at the end of February, and so on and so forth. If you want me to rank the movies I rewatched this month, just let me know in the comments, and I'll try to do that. I don't have near as many rewatches as I did first time watches, but if you want me to do that ranking too, I will. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everybody.